A gaming PC is your gateway to gaming greatness, but in order to have all of this powerful hardware, you're going to have something to actually put it in. The thing is though, there are so many to choose from, and some are great, but others not quite so much. So in this video, we're going to go through literally everything you need to know and give you all of the best cases on the market today, from big to small, cheap to spenny, ITX to ATX. And the whole point of this really is to try and be as helpful as possible. It's to find you your perfect PC case companion that is going to last you for years to come. So stay tuned to fall in love right after a short word from this video sponsor. Meet the new Gigabyte G6X, a crazy powerful yet affordable gaming laptop that oozes luxury. This mighty machine packs up to an RTX 4060 laptop GPU and an Intel Core i7-13650HX CPU, allowing you to dominate in your favorite titles. Combine this with a huge 16-inch 165Hz 16x10 display with ultra slim bezels, and you're going to fall in love with PC gaming all over again. Feast your eyes on this gorgeous laptop today with the link down below. Let's crack on then, starting with the most important thing. What actually makes a good PC case? Well, enclosures are always pretty subjective when it comes to looks, but performance and ease of building, that's objective, baby. And the most important thing for performance is to allow your components to breathe. Most modern cases are pretty well set up for this, with large mesh intakes on the top, front and rear of the chassis, with newer, fancier ones also allowing for cool air to be brought in from the sides and the bottom. And I wouldn't blame you if you've been having a look around at a whole host of different cases on the market and wondering how much mesh do I actually need? Well, the short answer is that it depends on the components you're going to put in there, not only in terms of physical size, but also on the heat output. So you're mainly looking at your graphics card or your processor, and if it consumes a lot of heat, then you're going to need larger coolers to actually fit it, and having a larger volume of air that can be moved throughout the chassis is going to help with cooling. But the more mesh intakes that you have, the more options you have for actually mounting those fans, those radiators, and more places the air can actually be drawn in. As a general rule of thumb, ensure that your front, side, or rear allows for some unrestricted intake fans, and then that there's some room up top for a couple of exhausts, and you should be good to go, with the end result being a suitably cool and quiet system. Ease of building is also going to be another key metric as to what makes a case actually good. And yes, as a general rule, a smaller case is going to be more difficult than a larger one, and the more stuff you actually want to put in there, the harder it is going to be. But you'd be surprised just how many cases are very poorly laid out, even though they support a load of hardware. Building in it is a lot more difficult than it should be. A fantastically designed enclosure would allow you to mount your motherboard, coolers and radiators without being overly restricted, with clearances able to fit an RGB or fan controller and pre-managed cables that are easy to connect to your motherboard. Remember that they don't have to be large to do this. There are lots of great smaller cases that work this way. It's just about careful design and having plenty of space for users to store their cables as they construct. If you're specifically after the easiest cases to build in though, you're almost certainly going to want to look at dual chamber. Especially if you're a beginner, you'll find this way easier than something a little bit more traditional or something a lot smaller. Having said this, obviously it's not essential. It's not like a one size fits all, but the reason it's so easy is because all of your heat producing components are on this side, and this is great for ventilation and airflow because all of the fans can get to the bits that really need it. But then the kind of messy and horrible job, which is actually putting your power supply and managing all of those cables and things, you can kind of just stick this around the other side in the other chamber, and you've got loads more room. And as you can see, if you want to be a little bit messy, it's not the end of the world because you're not going to see this area here. You've also got a large amount of space for hard drives and things, so you can physically fit more in it. But you just find that actually it's a lot easier to get a nice looking build, and it's a lot easier just to build it in the first place. But they do come at the cost, not only because they're a little bit more expensive, but because these are pretty wide. So if you're going to put this on a desk with a really large monitor or large speakers or both, you might find that you want to go for a more traditional tower that's taller but a fair bit thinner. Now, size and space is definitely a great topic to elaborate on, as each case size refers to a standard of motherboard. A small motherboard can fit inside a large case, but obviously not the other way around. The smallest cases are called mini ITX, mid sizes are micro ATX, and full-size boards are ATX or extended ATX if you're buying a very pricey board with a lot on it. It's definitely worth brushing up to make sure that you are familiar with all of the pros and cons of each platform before you actually commit to a size, as the larger a motherboard is, the more features it usually has, and in some cases, the more future-proof it can be. Likewise, the larger the case you buy, usually the better the thermals are too, as a larger volume of space means a larger volume of air that has to heat up before it becomes saturated, which makes it easier to keep your system temps down and noise levels low. The questions you need to be asking yourself are pretty simply, how big do I want it to be, and what parts am I physically going to be putting inside this over its lifetime? If you're dead set on going for a smaller size chassis, then I would definitely recommend that you grab one that you can mount an all-in-one liquid cooler to, because when we open this up, you will almost certainly see that we're obviously very limited in terms of space for a CPU cooler. So if you were to actually go for like a really low profile one here, it would work, but it would limit the amount of CPUs that you could actually go for. So if you do want to go for like a, I don't know, Core i7, Ultra 7, or obviously like a Ryzen 7 or something like that, which is probably what you're going to want to do for a high-end gaming PC, then most of the time it is going to be an all-in-one that's going to give you the best performance, and certainly going to be something you can grow into if you do want to buy something a little bit more affordable now and work your way up in terms of expansion. And I'll also add, if you're wondering why I've got this extra fan that I've mounted here, this was actually because the SSD was overheating. Remember what I said about volume of air? Well, because there wasn't really that much ventilation here before, the SSD kind of cooked itself, which was sad. But adding this fan in fixed that. But I did need an extra SSD. Something else that I definitely think is a fair bit harder to assess online when you're shopping for a case is the overall build quality of the thing. What are the materials like? How good does it look and feel? And how heavy is it? Good, thick cases are more sturdy, rubber damp mounts are resistant to vibration noise, and having lots of cable tidies, covers and grommets make for a neater and tidier overall build. But obviously it does work the other way as well. The higher quality the materials, the heavier the case is going to be, the harder it will be to move around, and obviously the more costly it's going to be to your wallet. The more you pay for a case, usually the better quality the fans are too, which again are going to be quieter and have more performance. The absolute cheapest fans can be really loud, and in the absolute worst cases, not even user controllable, so that they run at full speed 24/7. But then of course the other most important thing is that you actually buy a gaming PC case that you love the look of. It's all very well having something that's high performance and is maybe a little bit more budget friendly, but if you can't stand the look of it, what's the point? I think we can all agree that glass panels ooze luxury, and having RGB controllable fans let you pick any theme you can imagine, but the shape, form factor, paint and build materials of the chassis vary so much, but you can rest assured that there definitely is the perfect something for you. The main questions to ask yourself is whether you want to have a traditional tower or a dual chamber, glass or mesh on the front, and if you are using the stock case fans or you're going to be upgrading to new ones yourself. Once you've answered these questions and set yourself a budget, you'll probably find that actually a lot of cases will start throwing themselves at you. It's surprising, there are so many out there, but there's not always that many that kind of really perfectly match what you want. But I know what you're thinking.
I came here for some recommendations and I haven't had any yet. What a waste of time.
Well, the good news is you don't have to wait any longer. Here are the PC-centric top cases that you can buy in 2024 and 2025 based on the last 2.5–3 years of testing. And don't forget, if you do want to check out current pricing on any of them featured, you can find them listed below with our affiliate links. Starting off at the budget end, and here the clear winner right now looks to be the mATX Air 903. Coming in black or white, RGB or solid, this case gives you a lot of everything for the money, with large amounts of space to build in, lots of upgradability options, and decent enough build quality that would be easy to forget this was only about 55 quid. I also love with the fact that it comes with a fan and RGB controller on the RGB version, USB Type-C, and 140mm fans are fitted as standard. If you do want to go for something a bit smaller though, then you could consider the Cooler Master Q300 V2. It's better built than version 1.0, and it's fitted with a more modern USB-C port. This case combined with a micro ATX motherboard can definitely save you a ton of cash on a budget build, though you will definitely notice that this isn't the most premium case on the market, but it's fine for the price. Moving on to the mid-range now, and this is pretty much a case of price to performance meets bang for the buck. And actually it's our most recently used chassis that fits the bill here, the brand new Phanteks G400A. This case looks incredibly slick and is really easy to build and cable manage. In addition to having loads of ventilation, is large enough for most builds, and is available at launch for about £100, the only real thing that I didn't like about it was that my GPU mount was a tad out of flush, though this could have been because it was a very early production sample. Alternatively, a cheaper option, and a oldie but a goldie, is the Corsair 4000D. Now this is definitely a little bit small for the absolute highest end builds these days, as it was kind of constructed before we had massive GPUs. But if you don't need to have something massive, then this is a great all-round option that can be found for a really cheap price. It's good looking, has great build quality, is really quick and easy to build in, and is probably Corsair's best case on sale today, maybe alongside its larger 5000D cousin. Now brand new for this year's edition, we actually have an entire new section, and I'm branding it as Cases to Last, because this is something that hopefully you're going to buy and keep for at least 10 years. Now I will say that this section is a little bit delicate because obviously NZXT has been at the centre of its PC rental saga recently, but staying objective just to the cases and the product here, both the brand new H5 and H7 Flow 2024 are cracking cases, they really are. They're definitely not flawless, as I personally don't like the way that the front fan mounts can look a little bit off if you fit 120s, but otherwise it really is a masterclass of value, build quality and airflow. A lot of this is actually down to the recessed motherboard tray. You kind of get a case that ends up being larger than it first appears. It's a fantastic way to have a bigger PC, but actually in a smaller size package. I also absolutely love the Lee & Lee Landcall 216. This is an absolute tank of a chassis that comes with larger 160mm fans at the front for quieter operation and better thermals. We've built on this so many times on the channel and I've never got bored of it. It feels like a $200 case, yet it's almost half the cost. If you want something really premium though, why not get wood? No, really, with a Fractal North and North XL. We've built with the standard North and just love the look. It is stunning, it stands out, and it's plenty big enough for almost all components, bar a top-mounted radiator. It'll work, but it's definitely a bit tight on the standard one, so I'd say if you are going to go for an all-in-one, go for the larger XL. Now of course we couldn't talk cases without having a category dedicated to dual chamber, and I've got three that I would say are real standout picks. The cheaper, but still rather expensive options are the Montech King 95 and the NZXT H6 Flow. Now to be honest with you, our H6 build I wasn't really that proud of because we used a very large tower cooler and an eATX motherboard, so the sizing just didn't quite work. I'd say that if you were going for a larger build, I'd definitely lean towards the Montech, but the H6 is very clever and it is very good value, especially if you get it on sale, but I would definitely recommend using an all-in-one liquid cooler. If you've got a little bit more money to spend though and really want to go for a proper luxury build, then it should come as no surprise that the O11 and O11 Vision from Lee & Lee is still the GOAT, and the updated versions keep adding newer features that keep it up to date whilst having some of the best build quality you can pretty much get on any case out there today. Just remember to bring your own fans, as you don't get any as standard, which really does bring up the price. If luxury is your thing though, and you've quite literally got money burning a hole in your pocket, then I've got two suggestions for you at the absolute highest end. The first is what I would describe as the people's favourite, the Hype Y60, Y70 and Y70 Touch. Really cool and funky cases that look like a fish tank and can even be configured with a high-res touchscreen panel that you can use to play Tetris, change your music and just flex to your friends on Discord that you spent a load of money on a touchscreen case. The second suggestion meanwhile is definitely a bit more unusual. It's the curvy Cougar FV270. This enclosure comes with a curved glass panel that really screams quality, with a fan under the front that feeds airflow into your case for a compromise-free showpiece rig that really does look a little bit different. But if you specifically want a big case, then I've got some options for you. A sometimes expensive, sometimes on sale option is Corsair's 5000 series, with my personal liquid build from 2022 residing in this behemoth. Unlike the 4000D, this enclosure opens up the right-hand side, allowing for fans, or in my case a pump res, to be mounted for extra cooling. You could argue that the design is a little bit plain, but personally speaking, I'd more describe this as timeless. It's definitely not the most out there case, but sometimes it's just nice to let your hardware do the talking. If you want to go incredibly big, incredibly large, and full of luxury, then I'd actually look at the brand new Haven HS420. We did a full sponsored build on this when it first launched, and as long as you are okay with the absolute heft of it, the quality of the build, the smart features and the easy rail system that makes building an absolute breeze, all of this comes together with really high quality materials, and the white version I had that looked absolutely phenomenal to boot too, everything combined gives you a real luxury product that's really easy to recommend. And obviously the polar opposite of big is Antarctic small, maybe, and we're going to talk ITX. Now, full disclosure, I haven't really tested as many ITX cases this year as I would have liked, so I think there's definitely a lot more to recommend. Feel free to drop your suggestions down below, but I really love the Fractal Terra and the SS UPD mATX. The Terra has to be one of the most attractive cases on the market of any size, and its rail system gives you a lot of options for such a small case. Do bear in mind though that it is limited to air coolers for the most part though, so this isn't going to be a 4090 i9 machine unless you get incredibly creative, but for most mid-range gaming PCs, you should be able to make this work really well. If you are looking at something specifically for the high-end though, the SS UPD mATX would be my go-to pick right now. Now again, space is limited, it's not a miracle worker, not all graphics cards are going to fit here, but I actually used this and the earlier mATX as my personal living room rig for a few years, and I found it worked really well, especially as you can use an all-in-one liquid cooler to put a higher TDP CPU inside it. However, whilst I definitely am a huge fan of ITX, as hardware seems to be getting bigger and more power hungry at the high end, last year I actually made the switch to mATX because for the space I was using it, the extra bit of height and extra bit of length didn't really make too much difference, but it does allow you to put more powerful hardware inside it. The one I currently use is the Fractal Pop Air Mini, and it's a decent all-round option, but nothing remarkable. It feels fine, but nothing like particularly expensive. It almost looks like a scaled-down PC case, because it is a scaled-down PC case, but it still fits a 4090 and 240 all-in-one without issue, and it's been chugging away very happily over the last 18 months. If I was redoing it now though, I'd probably instead go for the Asus Prime AP201 instead, as this case is even smaller, yet would probably deliver even better thermals thanks to its mesh panels and larger clearance below the GPU. If you don't mind sacrificing slightly on thermals, it can also come with a window panel too, so you could see its full wizardry whilst you play. I'll also give an honourable mention too for the Lee Dan A3. It's very similar to the Prime. It arguably looks slightly better, but it lacks the cable management room around the side for a clean windowed build. But ladies and gentlemen, there can of course only be one winner, the PC-centric case of the year. If I had to go for something right now, what would be the absolute best of the best, the go-to pick, and without a shadow of a doubt, it would be the Phanteks NV5. Sadly, this case just missed out last year as I literally tested it a couple of weeks after running the previous video, and oh, what a case this thing is. It is bold, it is beautiful, and it is unbelievably affordable. I mean, the build quality is exceptional. It is so clean, and it's got plenty of space for fans and cooling options. There's also a new V2 version that also allows you to use BTF and Project Zero reverse connect motherboards for even tidier builds. I honestly love this case so much. I actually built my new personal rig around it, and I've been using this as my daily PC ever since. It is absolutely phenomenal. The only thing to watch out for is the lack of fans as standard. You're going to have to bring your own, and this doesn't support 140s. But as long as you are okay with that, I think this is an absolutely ridiculous case. And again, bear in mind you can quite often get it for under £100 here in the UK. For a case of that caliber and that value, I think that is pretty exceptional. The Lee Landcool 216 is definitely a very close second place, but for me, the extra looks and just the uniqueness, if you like, and the cleanness of the NV5 wins it for me. But the question goes out to you guys on this. What is your favorite case? What are you using right now? And if you love it, why do you love it? What should people look at if they're going to build a gaming PC? Let's help everyone out in this lovely PC gaming community. But I really hope this video has been helpful. Again, reminder that all current pricing is listed down below. But if you have enjoyed this video, please smash the like button. It really helps out. Get yourself subscribed, and yeah, as I say, if you do want to check out current pricing on anything that was featured in this video, you can find it listed down below with our affiliate links. And while you're down there, why not indulge yourself in the power of the Gigabyte G6X? This stunning gaming laptop hits the sweet spot of luxury look and feel, combined with powerhouse gaming performance and immersive Dolby Atmos audio. Its beautiful display has an incredible 90% screen-to-body ratio, and the RTX 4060 laptop GPU not only brings jaw-dropping frame rates, but also accelerates AI applications with a mighty 233 TOPS of processing power. Level up your battlefield today with the Gigabyte G6X. Learn more with the link down below. But thank you guys so much for watching. We'll catch you in the next one.